Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? It's your boy Shazwiyt, and welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me yet again, and thank you so much for your continued support. If you are new to this channel and you are clicking on me for the very first time, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also turn on those post notifications so that you get notified every time I upload a video. I, like so many of you, probably are subscribed to a lot of channels. So the fortunate thing about turning on the bell is that you also get the notification on your phone and you can instantaneously click on the video and watch whenever I upload. So that's the awesome thing about it. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing good. I'm now halfway through my first week back at uni. So, yeah, it's been good. I mean, still settling in and all that stuff. The whole waking up early schedule, my bad for choosing 8 a.m.s, but, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Good thing about 8 a.m.s is that you get the class out of the way, you're done for the day, so that's what I love about it. So, as you can tell by the title of today's video, it's a super chilled one. And it's a story time. It's my first ever story time, and I want to do more story times with you guys. For those who don't know what a story time is, it's literally a story. I sit here and I tell you a story about something that happened to me or something that happened, I guess, to someone else or something. Story times tend to be very personal. I'm sharing different experiences that I've actually had. And in the very first video, I talked about how on this channel, I want to make sure that you guys get to know me and see different sides of me, learn about me, laugh at me, get angry at me, be sad at me, whatever it is, and just see all the different sides of Shasha and see what his thoughts are. So this very first story time will give you, hopefully, more insight into who I am. I got some nachos here. I love fruit, especially nachos. And if you don't eat enough fruit, you should make sure you eat fruit, at least something every day. Get those vitamins and, that natural sweetness. Get rid of the refined sugar. Use more natural sugars. I'm also trying to get into my fitness plan, so, trying to watch that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay. So, as you can tell by the title of today's video, it's a really cool story actually. And the reason why I wanted to share this first time going to college video today is because there's so many people who are in my position, not just as people who are going to college/uni for the first time, but also international students like me who are traveling to countries they've probably never been to, or are settling in and living in other parts of the world that they haven't been to, and like they're doing school there and all that stuff. And this video was actually inspired by a DM that I got from someone who I went to school with. If you're watching this video, you know who you are. So this person texted me after I uploaded my first video, and they noticed that in the video I talked about how I wanted to be a pediatrician. And so the person was like, hey, I'm so happy you started your channel. That's so cool. I noticed you talked about how you wanted to be a pediatrician. Can you give me advice? How's med school? How's all of this? And it was very pleasing to the heart because I love being able to help people and giving advice and stuff, because I know for me, when I was in that person's position, or even just now, I like receiving advice from older generations, from people who have been through what I'm going through or what I've been through. So it's just really helpful to have that community, or have people that you can talk to and relate to about all these different things. So that's why I'm actually filming this video as well, is because of that person. I won't mention you by name, to maintain your privacy, but you know who you are if you're watching this video. And thank you for your support, by the way. This isn't too long of a story though, but judging by how long my previous video was, I'm not sure how long this is gonna go because I ramble a lot. That's just who I am. I was actually shocked how long the other video was, and I would not be surprised if it was just as long, if not longer. But I will try to keep this video as concise and as not as short as possible, but I don't want to like make it like super long. It's just that I just love talking to you guys and I just have so many stories and things in my head. So that's why I guess I got carried away the last time because it was just a topic like that I had been thinking about for a while, and I love Beyonce, so that's why it was easy for me to like go deep into it. But anyway, you know how it is. With that being said, let's get into the story. So, my first time going to college. Um, this happened not too long ago. This is still quite recent. I've only just started my third year in college, so this would have happened 2 years ago, in 2017, August. But before I get to the actual day when I left, let's give a bit of context of the days leading up to that. So, growing up, obviously going to school and everything, I always wanted to go to university, receive a tertiary education. It's something that a lot of us were raised to want to do. A lot of us are raised to want to go to college to get a degree because we're taught to believe that a degree guarantees employment and guarantees a good life. Now, obviously, as I've grown older and as you guys have grown older, you realize that's actually not the case. Having a degree doesn't guarantee you'll be rich. It doesn't guarantee that you'll get a job. A lot of the times people without degrees or other what's the word for it's a certain without the credentials, without academic credentials, people without credentials, they also get employment too. And if you actually look at like the richest people in the world, a lot of them either dropped out of college or didn't even go to college. So it's a really interesting thing, I guess, when you think about it, how all of these things start to like all of these things that you are raised to believe in start to like not be the case. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on to that. So, so when I was in 12th grade, when I was in my last year of high school, I knew automatically that I wanted to go to med school. I wanted to do subjects that would align with medicine, and so that's what I did. I did the IB, which is like an international system similar to Cambridge. And so I did my subjects, and in my first semester of my senior year in high school, I did my SATs, got a good enough score. I never studied for it, and I never did it a second time because I only did it because it was a requirement, but I never bothered studying for it or anything. Literally everyone else around me did it at least twice and studied for it. I was like over I didn't even bother. And I actually made a pretty decent average score for someone who's never studied for it or anything. When I did it, it was the one that was out of 1500. I think it was out of 1500 when I did it, or 16. I think it was 15. And so out of 1500 when I did it, I think I got 1,000 or just over 1,000, somewhere around there. So that was a pretty good average score, especially in comparison to other people when they did the first time. A lot of them didn't get that high. I'm not trying to fool myself, but I'm just trying to say, your boy got that inbuilt general knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so as soon as I finished my SATs, I then applied for colleges. There's this website that my guidance counselor, Miss Reber, shout out to you, she put me on. And yeah, it's basically this website like for college applications where you apply to different schools within the US and I guess other parts of the world, and you just upload your application. So if you upload to one college, you don't have to do a different application for another school. You can just upload the same thing, but obviously you have to do a few changes, like they will want a different college essay, I guess, or a different something, but it wasn't as tedious, or yeah, it was basically easier to do. other than back in the day where you probably had to send like physical envelopes or something to your school. Anyway, so in total, I applied to about 8 schools. And then um, out of those schools, out of the schools that I got into, I think probably out of the 8 schools I got into, sorry, that I applied to, I probably got accepted to about 3 of them, or something. And that was the first time in my life, guys, where I was actually rejected from something. It was hard. The first one was hard. Even though I was qualified to get into the school, one of them I still got rejected. It was actually, I applied to, I think it was, what was it? Because I had applied to UPenn and I had applied to Ithaca College, Ithaca. And UPenn wasn't, that was a long shot. It's an Ivy League school. So, not surprised I didn't get in there. Anyway, long story short, I eventually chose the school that I chose to go to. Um, should I mention what school I go to? I'll just mention it. I go to Millsaps College, which is in Mississippi. I ended up, how I actually saw the school was they shot me an email, but it was in my spam folder. So I probably would have never seen it until randomly I decided to look at my spam section of my email. And that's when I saw it. I saw this heading that was like priority admission. And Millsaps, they said, if you apply to our school, you are, 100% guaranteed to get into the school. You could possibly even get a scholarship. And when I saw scholarship, I was like, damn, I haven't, gotten a scholarship offer. This is awesome. Like, who wouldn't want a scholarship, because university can be really expensive, like colleges and stuff. College tuition is just insane. And I'd already heard that like schools in America are usually like the most expensive. So any kind of financial aid would be very helpful. So after some thinking, I then chose Millsaps. And from then on, I made the necessary preparations. So I then graduate high school eventually. And hoo. And yeah, then the summer came through, which is winter back in Zimbabwe. Didn't really do anything. Just chilling, hanging with friends, and seeing those friends leave, and then eventually I would leave. And so then, fast forward, now we get to the actual day when I leave. So, in the days leading up to my departure, I was very excited. In fact, I got to a point where I was so excited, like for such a long time, that I wasn't even excited anymore. I was just so over it and ready to go. Because I'd never been to America. The longest I'd ever been away from home was a week. So this was a huge, huge change for me. Also, my mom has never been to the US before. And so initially I was supposed to go with her, but then my dad, in Shona we have this saying which is kupusa, which basically means to be stupid or to be silly, I guess. And the reason why, he said that was because he was like, no, you shouldn't go with him, talking to my mom, by the way. He said, no, don't go with him, just let him go by himself so he can grow up and stuff. Initially, when I heard that, I was like, why? I wanted to go with you, because you've never been to the States, talking to my mom, you know, but she agreed with him, obviously. If she didn't, she would have come with me. But she agreed, and eventually, as I thought about it, I actually found it exciting because I've never traveled by myself before. I've traveled with my school, but that doesn't count because there are other people and your teacher. But I had never like traveled by myself before, so that was also a really exciting thing to look forward to. And then, yeah, so obviously, like I prepared, for going to school, made sure I had my supplies and communicated with the school and all that stuff. Don't need to get into that. You know how it is. And so the day before I left, my family and I, a few family members of mine, including my parents, we went out to eat. And we went out for dinner at this really nice restaurant. It's not as nice anymore, I don't know, but it was nice back in the day. This really cool restaurant called Amanzi, and we went there, had dinner. It was a really nice night. It was cool. Um, so, and I remember on that night, my mom was like, no, call these people. You have to call these people and tell them that you're leaving. You can't, because you didn't physically see them before you left. So you have to call them, because literally the next day I was flying out. So she was like, call people, and tell them you're going. So I was like, okay. So I called a few relatives of mine to tell them that I was going. And their reactions were sweet though. They were all excited. They're like, oh, you're going, congratulations. Ufambe shakanaka, which means like travel, travel well, travel safe, and all that stuff. Words of encouragement. And one of the people I called was actually my aunt, Lord rest her soul. She wasn't feeling very well at the time, but when I told her I was leaving, she was like, what time are you going to the airport? Like, when are you going? And I was like, oh, well, my flight leaves around 1, so I'll probably be there around 11. She was like, okay, I'm coming. I'm going to be there. I was like, oh, no, you don't know. She was like, no, I am coming. And lo and behold, she was there, present. She got to the airport before me. That's how excited she was to see me go. Oh, I miss her. She was such an angel. I love her. Anyway, so we had dinner. It was a good night. And that night, my mom seemed fine. She was very excited. She dressed really well, like in this cool outfit. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the pictures or videos that I took. Because I even, filmed a few vlogs, like little mini vlogs of the airports I went to. But if I do find those, I might share those. I don't know. But yeah, it was all excitement all round. Um, I also went to dinner with a cousin of mine who at the time was 16. 2017, I was 19. So she would have been 16. And she like drank, for the first time at the place. She had wine and stuff. And it was kind of funny to see her like drink and stuff because I had never seen that. So that was cool. So the next day comes and it's a regular day. I feel good. I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm ready to go. I've made the preparations. And so my mom decides to, from nowhere, literally had no idea she was going to do this, she decides to cook up a huge breakfast. And it wasn't just a regular breakfast. It was like, it was brunch, because she also like cooked proper food. So there was rice, chicken, beef. She even made beans and eggs and all that stuff. This big thing. And I was like, who is this for? Like, do we have visitors or something? And she was like, no, it's for you. And I was like, okay. um, yeah, so we ate. But then I realized that I had a few things I still needed to like pack and get ready for. Because by the time we're eating, because the thing is, we had to leave the house around 11. This in the morning, around 11. So I was eating probably around 10-ish. But I wasn't even fully dressed yet. I probably just had on my shirt and pants, but I didn't even have socks or shoes or anything. So I was trying to eat quickly, but I was enjoying the food though. So I decided to take my time because I was like, this is good. I remember I was actually sitting with my dad and the house was like pretty noisy that morning. I guess other people are running around as well, doing their own thing. But it was such a busy day, but it was good. I was happy, but I also felt very nostalgic because it was like I was slowly realizing that I wasn't gonna, see this place for the next 4 months. This is, the first time that I'm actually going to be away and not come back. And it was kind of a scary thought because all these memories started going through my mind of like the times when I was a kid. I started imagining like being around the house and doing all of these crazy things in my childhood and, all of this stuff. I would literally look at each of my relatives, like my parents or whatever, and look at my siblings, my cousins, and, look at them and think of like, a dear memory that I had with them. And it was a bittersweet day. It was bittersweet. So that day my mom was in a bad mood. I could tell she just was not feeling it. It was hard because I'm the youngest in my family. And so, and throughout my life, I'd always been at home. I had traveled quite a bit before. The longest I ever was away from home, as I said, was a week. But I'm a homebody. I'm pretty much, if I wasn't at school or other like I was pretty much always at home. And growing up, I was also kind of a mama's boy. So it was obviously very hard for her to see me go. Um, but yeah, I could tell she was proud. I could tell they were both proud and happy and excited. But it was hard. I understand. And I literally had asked her, like, Mama, please don't cry. When we go to the airport, it's not a big deal. I'll be back. December is right around the corner. And I think she agreed, but she wasn't going to keep that promise. So, I finally packed my stuff, say goodbye to whoever was staying at home. And there were quite a lot of people that also came to the house, quite a few other like of our relatives who heard that I was leaving and decided to pass through the house and say goodbye. But a lot of people escorted me to the airport. In total, maybe we're about 20 people or something. Quite a few people. Even some employees who worked for us came and stuff. Because it's a big deal, I was leaving and stuff. And it hadn't really occurred to me how big of a change this was. I mean, I knew how big it was, but I didn't think it was like as big as people made it to be. So, we then get to the airport, and while I'm in the car, as we're driving along, I start to film literally, like I take out my phone and I film a video in the car and stuff. I wish I had those clips, man, but I don't. But if I do find them, I'll try and insert them in this video, but I don't think I have them. Anyway, we get to the airport, and yeah, I get my bags checked, all that stuff, and eventually the time comes to say goodbye. Oh yeah, before I get on to that, before we actually left the house, my dad called me to the bedroom, and I was like, what is going on here? And so it actually turned out my dad wanted to pray for me. So I literally like knelt down while they stood over me, put their hands over me. And my dad prayed for me. And it was actually a really sweet moment. Yeah, it was cool. Always remember that. Love you, Dad. So then we're at the airport. I'm saying my goodbyes, getting ready to go. And those last moments it was kind of tough. But if I'm being honest, I was still really excited because I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. I'm going to America, all this. I'm traveling by myself. I will admit I was a little bit, I guess, not scared, but nervous because I've never traveled by myself. So I was just hoping that I wouldn't get lost in any of the airports. Because I knew from Harare to Joburg, I was going to be fine. But from then on going to the States, I was just hoping I wouldn't get lost or anything like that. But I knew that if I asked questions and followed where everyone else was going, I'll be fine. So, yeah. So I remember I'm about to go through sort of the passport checking customs thing. And once you go through those double doors, I can't, that's the last time, like, everyone gets to see me. It's like the last goodbye. So I remember after hugging everyone and saying goodbye, my mom was still sort of okay. She's quiet, but she's okay. I remember as I'm about to go through one last time and I'm saying my goodbyes, I look back. I see her in the distance with one of my brothers, and one of my brothers is hugging her and she's crying. And I was like, oh, Mama, don't cry. Like, why? And my aunt was crying. It was such an emotional thing, but I understood where she was coming from. She's a mom. This is emotional. I'm her baby, leaving her. It was hard. I understood. But yeah, anyway, so eventually wave my last goodbye and I leave. Um, and so eventually I ended up traveling well. Overall, the trip was cool. Traveling by myself wasn't as hard. Actually, when I traveled to South Africa first, I actually, met a random person who was around my age. She was going to London, and we were walking and we are talking like for hours, and then eventually we went our separate ways. So it kind of felt like I was traveling with someone. Um, I remember when I got to DC. So the first place I got to in America was Washington DC. And I remember when I was hopping onto that flight to go to DC, I was like, whew, this is happening. But I was like, I'm ready. And when we got to DC, looking out the window from the plane, I was like, okay, well, because it was still like early morning, so you can't really see much out the plane because the sun was still rising and stuff. But eventually got in the airport and there really was no culture shock or anything like that. I think it's because I went to an international school and I was used to being around Americans and stuff like that. There wasn't really, much of a shock factor or anything. I knew that I was in a developed country. I didn't really expect, anything to like shake me. I knew what I was getting myself into. That's why I chose to be here. But my first impression of the States, like Americans in general, was that they're very approachable people. They're very nice. You can ask them a question and they're very helpful. And it was cool. I enjoyed that. Really, really cool, nice people. And to be honest, I think people in the South, in my opinion, are probably the nicest people in the world. Like, Southern hospitality is a real thing, y'all. It's a real thing. I was so impressed by how welcoming and nice people are. Um, but I could save that for another video. So from DC, I wasn't there that long. I then switched over to the domestic terminal, had to get my bags, check them in again, and then from DC, I then flew to Houston. So Houston was the first place where I got to like actually chill for some time before I went on my last flight. So I was in Houston and I was chilling and it was cool. My first impression of Houston was hot. It was hot. It was hot. Ooh, it was hot. Fortunately, it wasn't humid. It wasn't as humid. Nah, it was okay. But it was really hot, man. Like, ooh. But I thought it was really cool. And I remember like the first thing I officially ate in the country was I got Whataburger. And I remember I just got a burger, fries, and I got a drink. And I remember like how big of a portion the drink was. I got a regular drink, but they gave me a cup about this size. And that's when it made sense. Like, America, go big or go home. Like, y'all really went out. Oh. And then, what else? Yeah, I then got that, whatever. And then finally I hopped on my last flight and got to Jackson, got to Mississippi. And my first impression of Mississippi was it was beautiful in terms of the foliage. It was very humid. That was shocking. I was pretty shocked at how humid it gets here. It gets humid. I've experienced humidity like that before, but here it's a little worse. So I was like, ooh, I'm not ready for this. I'm not, man. But it was cool. Someone picked me up from the airport from the school. It went well. Stayed at a lodge for a few days and eventually moved on campus. So I remember being sick my first 2 days in there because my parents were sick actually. They got a flu, and I guess it incubated and it spread over to me. So yeah, that was kind of bad being sick, my first thing there. But I got over it soon. It was fine. So I remember when my student buddy, who are basically like, students that like help you transition into college and stuff. I remember there was this guy called Kyle. He was the one who helped me out and like picked me up from the hotel and took me to the school. Fortunately, the lodge was literally next to the school. So it wasn't that much of a distance. We went there and I remember going there and I was like, wow, I'm actually here. And it was cool. I enjoyed it. And I met a few of the other students, like the other, we call them MIBS buddies, and really nice people. Met some of the staff, and it was cool. It took quite a bit of time to get our stuff in order to get to our rooms, but others, I didn't know what to expect. I was just looking at everything like it was gold, like it was new, because, I'm in a new country, in a different continent. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. And so, yeah, and that was it really. The rest is history. Got to meet the other students, the other international students, because we were actually the ones who were first on campus, along with some athletes. So we basically had each other um, to I guess to hold. I don't know what else to say. We had each other around. So at first, we're initially like about 14 people, but the numbers went down. But anyway, it was a really diverse group. Me, Zimbabwe, got Kenya, Nigeria, Mauritius, Mongolia, who had an Australian, two Germans, Nepal. So Nepal and Mongolia, that was really cool because I had never met people from those countries before. So that was awesome. I enjoyed that. And not that I enjoyed that, like, I enjoyed that. But I enjoyed the fact that, you know what? Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I see you're looking at me funny. Don't judge me. Anyway. But that's pretty much it. Overall, it was a great experience. I transitioned well. I love it here. I'm enjoying it here. I'm in my third year here. If I didn't, I still wouldn't be here. So it's been a really good and easy transition. Um, so for those of you out there who are going to be embarking on such a journey soon, I hope that this video was helpful for you and can give you an insight into how your experience could be like. The thing is that transitions like these aren't easy. It's not every day that you get up and move to an entirely different continent, to a place that you've never been before. But eventually you get used to it. And it helps to have people around you that make you feel comfortable, especially comfortable. If you have people around you that make you feel comfortable and are nice, the transition is way, way easier. When you have people around you that are cool and totally get where you're coming from. And I even have a host family. I got a host family who are really amazing people, and I still have a relationship with them to this day, talk to them all the time. Really amazing people. And the funny thing is that it's a medical family, so it's kind of a perfect pairing, I guess. Amazing people. So my transition here has been really good. But if you're someone who didn't have as good of a transition, or adjusting to being somewhere different was hard for you, I totally get that. I had days, and even still up to this day, I sometimes have days where I really think about where I'm really homesick, where I miss home, you know. But you get over it. It's fine. Just remember, what you're here to do. Remember that you're here for school and to get that degree. You can have fun, do what you will, but remember what you came here for. Don't waste your parents' money. Don't. And even if you're on a full scholarship, don't waste your opportunity. Okay? Alright. So I hope you enjoyed that story, my first ever story time. I really enjoyed telling that story. I really look forward to the next videos that are coming up. I've got different kinds of content coming through. Want to do music reviews, dance videos, all this other stuff. I've got a pretty funny video coming up soon, actually, which is in line with something that's been trending a lot. So stay tuned. I've got some good stuff for you. I really love doing this, guys. This is fun. I'm really enjoying it. And I want to continue to do it for a while because this is actually really cool. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being with me today and for watching this video. Stay tuned for the next video. And with that being said, Shazwiyt gang, we are clear.